Imagine a man who could float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. That was Muhammad Ali. But he wasn't just a great boxer, he was also known for his big heart. People loved him because he was strong and brave, but also because he was kind to others. He stood up for what he believed in, and he always tried to help people who needed it. Even when he was famous and everyone wanted his attention, he never forgot to be a good person. This story is about one special day that shows just how kind and caring Muhammad Ali really was. It's a story about a champion in the ring, and an even bigger champion outside of it. It's a story about how a simple act of kindness can change someone's life forever, proving that true strength comes not only from fighting, but also from caring. This is the story of how Muhammad Ali met a boy who needed a friend. The big arena buzzed with excitement. Bright lights flashed, and the air crackled with energy. People cheered and shouted, eager to see the boxing matches. The smell of popcorn and hot dogs filled the air. It was a special night, a night of big dreams and strong fighters. Imagine a place where everyone is talking and laughing. That's what it was like backstage. But mixed with the happy sounds was a nervous energy. Boxers were warming up, getting ready to show their skills. Their coaches gave them last-minute advice. Security guards hurried around, making sure everything was safe and organized. This was the place where champions were made, but also a place that could feel overwhelming. It was especially overwhelming for someone who wasn't used to all the noise and excitement. It was a place of stark contrasts, triumph and pressure, excitement and anxiety. Muhammad Ali walked with a quiet confidence. He was like a superhero, but instead of a cape, he wore a warm-up suit. His eyes were focused, but his face was calm. He was getting ready for the biggest fight of his life. Each step he took echoed through the hallway. People whispered his name as he passed. Ali! Ali! He didn't always notice them. He was deep in thought, picturing the fight in his mind. He imagined his moves, his punches, and his victory. But even in his focus, Ali was aware of the world around him. He noticed the sounds, the smells, and the people. He was a champion, but he was also a human being. He knew that everyone had their own story, their own struggles, and their own dreams. And even on the biggest night of his life, he wouldn't forget that. He would see someone who needed help, even when everyone else was looking the other way. In the hallway, near the locker rooms, sat a small boy. He looked lost and scared. He was much smaller than the boxers and their coaches. His clothes were old, but clean. He was shivering, even though it wasn't cold. His eyes darted around, taking in the loud noises and the many people. He had come with a group from a local shelter. They had been given tickets to see the fights. It was supposed to be a fun night, a break from their worries. But for this boy, it was just too much. The noise, the crowds, the feeling of being different, it all made him feel even more alone. He wished he could disappear. He hugged his knees to his chest and tried to make himself as small as possible. He felt like everyone was staring at him, even though most people didn't even notice he was there. He just wanted to go back to the shelter, where it was quiet and safe. As Ali walked closer, two big security guards stepped in front of him. "Mr. Ali, we need to keep you moving," one of them said. "It's almost time for your fight. We can't have you getting distracted." They were just doing their job, making sure Ali was safe and on schedule. They didn't want anything to get in the way of his performance. They saw the boy, but they didn't really see him. To them, he was just part of the background, another face in the crowd. They were focused on getting Ali to the ring. "We need to clear the hallway," the other guard said, looking around. They didn't mean to be unkind, but they were in a hurry. They had a job to do, and they couldn't be bothered with a little boy who looked a bit sad. They just wanted to keep things moving, keep things on track, and keep Ali focused on the fight. Their intention was good, but their view was narrow. But Ali stopped. He looked at the boy, really looked at him. He saw the fear in his eyes, the way he was trying to disappear. He saw himself, maybe, as a young boy facing his own fears. Ali knew what it felt like to be scared and alone. He gently pushed past the security guards. Just a minute, he said, his voice calm but firm. He wasn't being rude, but he was making it clear that this was important. He walked over to the boy and, without saying a word, sat down on the floor next to him. The security guards were surprised. They didn't know what to do. They looked at each other, confused. Ali was about to fight, the most important fight of his life, and he was sitting on the floor with a scared little boy. It didn't make sense to them. But to Ali it made perfect sense. He understood that sometimes, the most important thing you can do is to show someone that they're not alone. Ali looked at the boy with kind eyes. He didn't say, "What's wrong?" or, "Why are you so sad?" He just smiled gently. He understood that sometimes you don't need words. Sometimes you just need someone to be there with you. He reached out and gently took the boy's hand. The boy's hand was small and cold, but Ali's hand was warm and strong. He held it gently, not squeezing, just letting the boy know he wasn't alone. The boy looked up at Ali, surprised. He couldn't believe that this famous boxer, this amazing man, was sitting next to him, holding his hand. It felt like a dream. For the first time that night, the boy felt a little bit safe. He didn't feel quite so scared. He felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. In that moment, a connection was formed between two people from very different worlds. A connection built on kindness and understanding. Ali then closed his eyes and bowed his head. He began to pray, speaking softly. He didn't pray for himself, for victory in the ring. He prayed for the boy. He asked for courage for the boy, for strength to face his fears, and for peace in his heart. He prayed that the boy would know he was loved and cared for, that he wasn't forgotten. The words were simple, but they were filled with love and sincerity. The boy didn't understand all the words, but he understood the feeling behind them. He felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of calm he hadn't felt before. It was like Ali was sharing his strength with him, giving him a little bit of his own courage. In that moment, the prayer wasn't just words, it was a connection, a shared hope, a promise of something better. It was a moment of pure kindness, a beacon of light in a noisy, overwhelming world. It was a moment the boy would never forget. Tears welled up in the boy's eyes. They weren't tears of sadness or fear anymore. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of being understood. He couldn't remember the last time someone had been so kind to him, so genuinely caring. The tears streamed down his face, washing away some of the worry and loneliness he had been carrying. He didn't try to stop them. He just let them flow. It felt good to cry, to release all those pent-up emotions. It was like a weight was being lifted from his shoulders. He looked at Ali through his tears, his heart full of emotion. He wanted to say thank you, but the words wouldn't come. All he could do was cry. And Ali understood. He didn't need the boy to say anything. He knew what the tears meant. He knew that sometimes, the best way to express your feelings is to let them out, to let them flow freely. The tears were a sign that the boy was healing, that he was starting to feel safe and loved. They were a testament to the power of kindness and compassion. Ali leaned closer to the boy and whispered, so softly that only he could hear, "You're not alone anymore." The words were simple, but they meant everything. They were a promise, a reassurance, a lifeline. It was as if Ali was saying, "I see you. I understand you. And I'm here for you." The boy looked at Ali, his eyes wide with surprise. He had never heard anyone say anything like that to him before. He had always felt like he was invisible, like nobody cared. But now, this amazing man, this famous fighter, was telling him that he wasn't alone. It was the most wonderful thing he had ever heard. The words sank deep into his heart, filling him with a warmth and hope he had never known. He knew in that moment that things were going to be different. He knew that he wasn't alone in the world anymore. He had a friend. He had someone who cared. And that made all the difference. Just then, someone took a picture. A quick flash captured the moment. Muhammad Ali, the world-famous boxer, sitting on the floor, holding the hand of a small, unknown boy. It wasn't a posed picture, it was a real moment, a genuine connection frozen in time. The photographer didn't know the whole story, but he knew he had captured something special. He knew that this picture was more than just a celebrity photo. It was a picture of kindness, of compassion, of humanity. He printed the photo and gave it to the boy. The boy looked at the picture, his eyes filled with tears again. But these were happy tears. He carefully folded the photo and put it in his pocket, close to his heart. He knew he would keep it forever. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. It was a reminder that even the biggest, strongest people can be kind and caring. And it was a reminder that he was not alone. Years passed. The boy grew up. He faced many challenges, but he never forgot that night. He never forgot the kindness of Muhammad Ali. He went to school, worked hard, and made a good life for himself. He always remembered Ali's words. "You're not alone anymore." He learned that even when things are tough, there is always hope. He learned that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference. And he learned that true strength comes not just from fighting, but from caring for others. He often wondered about Muhammad Ali, about his fight that night, about his life. He knew that Ali had touched many lives, but he felt a special connection to him. He knew that Ali had seen him, had really seen him, when nobody else did. And that made all the difference. He carried that memory, and that photo, with him always. It was a reminder of the power of human connection. Now a grown man, he sat in a comfortable chair, the lines on his face telling stories of a life well lived. He remembered that night like it was yesterday. The bright lights, the loud noises, the feeling of being so small and alone. But most of all, he remembered the kindness of Muhammad Ali. He smiled softly, a warmth spreading through him as he thought about that moment. It wasn't just a prayer, or the words, but the simple act of sitting down beside him, of seeing him when nobody else did. That's what had changed everything. That's what had given him hope. He knew that Ali had no idea how much that one small act had meant to him. He knew that Ali had probably forgotten all about it. But he hadn't. He would never forget. It was a part of him, woven into the fabric of his being. It was a story he would carry with him always, a testament to the power of kindness and the importance of human connection. He reached into his wallet, carefully pulling out a small, folded piece of paper. It was old and worn, the edges frayed, the colors faded. It had been folded and unfolded so many times that the creases were soft and smooth. It was a photo. He unfolded it gently, revealing the image, a young Muhammad Ali, sitting on the floor, holding the hand of a small boy. The boy was him. He pointed to the photo, his voice filled with emotion. "This," he said, "is the most important thing I own." It wasn't a valuable object, it wasn't a work of art, but it was priceless to him. It was a symbol of hope, of kindness, of human connection. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always light. It was a reminder that he was not alone. It was a reminder of the day his life changed forever. He held the photo carefully, his eyes shining with tears. It was more than just a picture, it was a piece of his heart. "That day," he said, looking at the photo with a wistful smile, "I met a fighter." He paused, his voice thick with emotion. "But I left with a friend." He wasn't just talking about Muhammad Ali the boxer, the champion. He was talking about Muhammad Ali the person, the kind and compassionate human being who had taken the time to see him, to care about him, to make him feel like he mattered. He understood that Ali had many fans, many admirers. But he knew that their connection was different. It was special. It was a bond forged in a moment of kindness, a moment of shared humanity. It was a story that showed that even the biggest, strongest people can be gentle and caring. It was a story that showed that even the smallest act of kindness can have a lasting impact. It was a story that showed that friendship can be found in the most unexpected places. And it was a story he would treasure forever. Because on that day, he didn't just meet a famous boxer, he met someone who changed his life. He met a friend. Muhammad Ali was more than just a boxer. He was a symbol of hope, of courage, of kindness. He showed the world that true strength comes not just from physical power, but from the power of compassion, from the ability to see and care for others. His legacy lives on, not just in his boxing achievements, but in the many lives he touched with his kindness. He taught us that even the smallest act of caring can make a world of difference. He taught us that everyone deserves to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. And he taught us that we are all connected, that we are all part of something bigger than ourselves. His story reminds us to be kind, to be compassionate, and to never forget the power of human connection. It reminds us that even in a world filled with noise and chaos, a simple act of kindness can shine like a beacon, lighting the way for others. And it reminds us that we are never truly alone. Because somewhere someone cares. Just like Muhammad Ali cared for that little boy in the hallway. So, remember Muhammad Ali, not just for his boxing skills, but for his amazing heart. Remember him for the way he treated others, for his kindness and compassion. Remember him for the little boy in the hallway, the boy he showed that he wasn't alone. His life was a reminder that we can all be champions, not just in the ring, but in our everyday lives. We can all choose to be kind, to be compassionate, to make a difference in the world. We can all choose to see others, to hear others, to love others. And we can all choose to be a friend. Just like Muhammad Ali was a friend to that little boy. Let's all strive to be a little more like Ali, to make the world a better place, one act of kindness at a time. Let's remember that true greatness lies not just in strength and skill, but in the size of our hearts and the love we share with others. Because in the end, it's not about what we achieve, but about who we become and how we treat others along the way.